Good morning, students. From this video, we are going to know about the struggle for Purna Swaraj and launch of civil disobedience movement. Declaration of Purna Swaraj. Congress gave an ultimatum to the British government to accept the Nehru report by the end of 1929. Why? What is the reason? To face a mass movement. Some congressmen were not satisfied with dominion status. சில காங்கிரஸ்காரர்களுக்கு இரட்டை ஆட்சி முறையில் உடன்பாடு இல்லை and wanted to demand complete independence. முழு சுதந்திரத்தை வேண்டும் என்று கொடுங்கள் என்று கேட்கிறார்கள். After the 1-year time limit passed without any positive response from the British, Nehru report was declared lapsed at the Lahore session in 1929. In the Congress session held in Lahore in December 1929 with Jawaharlal Nehru as the president, Purna Swaraj was declared as the goal. It was also decided to boycott the Roundtable Conference and launch a civil disobedience movement. சட்ட மறுப்பு இயக்கத்தை ஆரம்பிப்பது என்று முடிவு செய்கிறார்கள். On 31st December 1929, Nehru hoisted Indian tricolor flag on the banks of river Ravi at Lahore. January 26, 1930 was declared as Independence Day and a pledge was taken all over the country attain Purna Swaraj. 1930 ஜனவரி 26ஆம் தேதி இந்தியா முழு சுதந்திரம் அடைந்து விட்டது என்று பிரகடனப்படுத்தினார்கள். Indian would resign from legislatures and would withdraw themselves from and kind of association with the British. Salt Satyagraha movement. The Indian National Congress authorized Gandhi to launch the movement. Gandhi moved a resolution that if independence had not been granted by 31st December 1929, the Congress would revive non-violent non-cooperation. The SALT Acts dictated that the people of India could not produce their own salt from seawater. Gandhi decided at he break of dawn on 12th March 1930, Gandhi set out from Sabarmati Ashram with 78 of its inmates. 1930 மார்ச் 12ஆம் தேதி காந்தி தனது சகாக்களுடன் சேர்ந்து 78 நபர்களுடன் சேர்ந்து சபர்மதி ஆசிரமத்திலிருந்து தண்டி என்ற இடத்திற்கு உப்பு சத்தியாகிரகத்தை மேற்கொள்ள பயணம் மேற்கொள்கிறார். The procession became larger and larger. வழியெங்கிலும் கூட்டம். When hundreds joined them along the march, நூற்றுக்கணக்கான மக்கள் சேர்ந்து கொண்டனர். At the age of 61, Gandhi covered a distance of 241 miles in 24 days to reach Dandi at sunset on 5th April 1930. கிட்டத்தட்ட 241 மைல்கள் நடந்து 24 நாட்கள் தொடர்ந்து நடந்து காந்தி ஏப்ரல் 5ஆம் தேதி 1930 தண்டி என்ற இடத்தை அடைகிறார். The next day morning he took a lump of salt, breaking the salt law. உப்பு காய்ச்சுகிறார். அடுத்த நாள் காலையில் கவர்மெண்ட் responded brutally. பிரிட்டிஷ் அரசாங்கத்திற்கு மிக கோபத்தை உண்டு பண்ணுகிறது அந்த செயல். Gandhi was arrested and put in prison. Result of Salt Satyagraha. Gandhi-Irwin Pact signed 5th March 1931 by Gandhi and Lord Irwin Viceroy agreed to end civil disobedience. No changes to the Salt Act except that some villages were allowed to produce salt for their own uses and for sale in villages only. News spread throughout Europe and the British lost moral superiority. Salt Satyagraha in provinces. In Tamil Nadu, C. Rajagopalachari, Dr. C. Rajaji led a similar salt march from Tiruchirappalli to Vedaranyam. Present day, Trichy to Vedaranyam. Salt marches took place in Kerala also, Andhra and Bengal. In the northwest frontier province, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan led the movement. He organized the Khudai Khidmatgar, also known as the Red Shirts. சிவப்பு சட்டை அணிந்து சிவப்பு ஆடை அணிந்து போராட்டம் நடத்துகிறார்கள். Gandhi was arrested at midnight and sent to Yerwada jail. Jawaharlal Nehru, Khan Abdul, Ghaffar Khan and other leaders were swiftly arrested. மிக விரைவில் கைது செய்யப்படுகிறார்கள். Soon after, forms of protest such as boycott of foreign cloth, picketing of liquor shops, non-payment of taxes, breaking of forest laws, etc. were adopted. Women, peasants, tribals, students, even children and all sections participated in the nation-wide struggle. It was the biggest mass movement India had ever witnessed. இதுவரை கண்டிராத மிகப்பெரிய கூட்டம் கூடுகிறது. Round table conferences. In the midst of the movement, the first round table conference was held at London in November 1930. Ramsay Macdonald, the British Prime Minister, proposed a federal government with provincial autonomy. The Congress did not attend. Why? Because it has its leaders were in jail. The conference closed without any decision on the question. எந்த விதமான கேள்விகள் கேட்கப்படாமல் முதல் வட்டமேசை மாநாடு முடித்துக் கொள்ளப்பட்டது. Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Lord Irwin held talks with Gandhi which resulted in the Gandhi-Irwin Pact on 5th March 1931. The British agreed to demand of immediate release of all political prisoners not involved in violence, return of confiscated land and lenient treatment of government employees who had resigned. It also permitted the people of coastal villages to make salt for consumption and non-violent picketing. The Congress agreed to suspend the civil disobedience movement and attend the conference. Gandhi attended the second roundtable conference, which began on 7th September 1931. Gandhi refused to accept separate electorates for minorities. As a result, second roundtable conference also ended without any result. Renewal of civil disobedience movement. சட்ட மறுப்பு இயக்கத்தை மீண்டும் ஒரு முறை தொடங்கினார். On returning to India, Gandhi revived the civil disobedience movement. Revive means rebirth, மறுபிறப்பு, மீண்டும் உருவாக்குதல். This time, the government was prepared to meet the resistance. இந்த முறை அரசாங்கம் முழு உத்வேகத்துடன் முன்னெச்சரிக்கையாக காந்தியை கைது செய்கிறது. Martial law was enforced and Gandhi was arrested on 4th January 1932. Soon all the Congress leaders were arrested too. Protesters and picketing by the people were suppressed with force. In the meantime, the third roundtable conference was held from 17th November to 24th December 1932. The Congress did not participate in the conference as it had revived the civil disobedience movement. Communal Award and Pune Pact. On 16th August 1932, Ramsay, the British Prime Minister Ramsay Macdonald, announced the Communal Award. It provided separate electorates to the minorities. Electorates means representatives. Minorities, சிறுபான்மையினர்கள். Example, Muslims, Sikh, Indian Christians, Anglo-Indians and women and the depressed classes. தாழ்த்தப்பட்ட இனத்தை சார்ந்தவர்கள். Dr. Bhimarao Ramji Ambedkar, the leader of the depressed classes, strongly argued for the separate electorate. We want the separate electorate, he demanded to the British government, as it, according to him, would give them political representation and power. But on 20th September 1932, Gandhi went on a fast unto death against the separate electorates for the depressed classes. ஆனால் காந்தி இம்முறை 1932 செப்டம்பர் 20 சாகும் வரை உண்ணாவிரதம் மேற்கொள்கிறார். எதற்கு எதிராக? டெப்ரஸ்டு கிளாஸஸ், தாழ்த்தப்பட்ட இனத்தை சார்ந்தவர்களுக்காக பிரதிநிதித்துவம் கொடுக்கக்கூடாது என்று Madan Mohan Malviya, Dr. Rajendra Prasad and others held talks with Ambedkar and MC Raja, the leaders of the depressed classes. After intense negotiation, மிக தீவிர பேச்சுவார்த்தைக்கு பிறகு an agreement was arrived between Gandhi and Ambedkar known as the Pune Pact. Students, simply Pune Pact means the Pune Pact refers to an agreement between Mahatma Gandhi and Ambedkar on behalf of depressed classes and upper caste Hindu leaders on the reservation of electoral seats for the depressed classes in the legislature of British India government in 1930, simply known as Pune Pact. Its main objectives were the principle of separate electorates was abandoned. Instead, the principle of joint electorate was accepted with reservation of seats for the depressed classes. Reserved seats for the depressed classes were increased from 71 to 148. In the central legislature, 18% of the seats were reserved. This is the objective of Pune Pact. Campaign against untouchability, தீண்டாமைக்கு எதிரான போராட்டம். Gandhi devoted the next few years towards abolition of untouchability. His engagement with Dr. Bhimarao Ramji B.R. Ambedkar made a big impact on his ideas and about the caste system. He shifted his base to the Satyagraha ashrama at Wardha. He undertook an all over India tour called the Harijan Tour. He started the Harijan Sevak Sangha to work for the removal of discriminations. He worked to promote education, cleanliness and hygiene and giving up of liquor among the depressed classes. An important part of campaign was the temple entry movement. 8th January 1933 was observed as Temple Entry Day. Thank you, students. Thank you for watching this video.